Look, of course, lots going on in the election run from the last 24 hours, but not least this morning, Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, he's waded into the row sparked by these comments from Doctor Who actor and lefty lovey, of course, David Tennant at the LGBT Awards. Look at this.
If I'm honest, I'm a little depressed by the fact that acknowledging that everyone has the right to be who they want to be and live their life how they want to live it, as long as they're not hurting anyone else, should merit any kind of special award or special mention, because it's common sense, isn't it? However, until we wake up and Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist anymore, I don't wish ill of her, I just wish her to shut up.
Dear, oh dear. Stunning and brave, I guess, is how the left would describe that, telling a woman to shut up. Well, look, David Tennant, a fierce, quote-unquote, ally of the LGBT community, there he is in his LGBT T-shirt. You will have to go through me, the trans flag in hand, masculinity pouring out of every part of his body, of course. Now, look, he is a fierce ally, he claims, of the LGBT community. He sparked a political row off the back of these comments about Women's and Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, this morning weighed into the debate. He said, freedom of speech is the most powerful feature of our democracy. If you're calling for women to shut up and wishing they didn't exist, you are the problem. Kemi Badenoch already hit back yesterday by saying this. She said, I will not shut up. I will not be silenced by men who prioritise applause from Stonewall over the safety of women and girls. A rich, lefty, white male celebrity so blinded by ideology, he can't see the optics of attacking the only black woman in government by calling publicly for my existence to end. She went on, Keir Starmer stood by while Rosie Duffield was hounded. He and his supporters will do the same with the country. Do not let the bigots and bullies win. And that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because this is now yet another issue around women's rights that has divided the Labour Party. Dawn Butler waded in today, remember her, and backed Tennant, saying, not all black women think the same. I agree with David Tennant. That's it. That's the tweet. 54-year-old Dawn Butler there, by the way, tweeting like a 16-year-old. But there we go. An odd response from Miss Butler, by the way, who has spoken out about the poor treatment of black female politicians in the past. Last year, she complains that the disrespect for black women in the Commons was, quote, shocking. So does that same solidarity not stretch to Miss Badenoch in this instance? Well, I guess not. And her comments come on the same day Shadow Health Secretary Wes Streeting is trying to repair Labour's relationship with women, writing in the Daily Telegraph that Labour has a, quote, lot of work to do to earn the trust of women in the wake of rows about transgender rights. So I wonder, it's interesting, isn't it? I wonder how he feels about Dawn Butler's comments, especially as Tennant only really took aim at Badenoch in the first place because of her common sense views on trans rights. Badenoch fired back at Butler again today, saying, this is the true face of the Labour Party. Keir Starmer says he doesn't want a toxic debate, but he's very happy to have Labour MPs do his dirty work for him and let people know they wish I didn't exist. These are the types of people who will form a government if Labour wins, if they win. The toxicity of the debate comes from the left. It always has. So what do you think? Is she right that the toxicity of the debate always comes from the left? And, by the way, are Labour just too divided on trans rights to protect women effectively? But let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Businessman and activist Adam Brooks, author and journalist Rebecca Reid. And Adam, I have a feeling you're not going to be on the fence on this one when it comes to Dawn Butler and the alleged hypocrisy and also the trans debate. We're back here again.
Look, let's start with Dawn Butler. She's a famous anti-racist that was basically effectively racist towards brown Tory MPs. She said of Suella Braverman that she wouldn't be Home Secretary if she was white. She also dismissed Priti Patel's experiences of lived racism. So what is she? You know, is it okay to sort of denounce racism as long as it isn't against Tory MPs of colour? That's what it comes across. It's total hypocrisy. And then we've got David Tennant. You know, this lovey thespian.
What did you make of that picture of him, by the way, with the, you'll have to go through me first, with his trans flag in hand?
It makes me feel sick.
Yeah, he tops the polls of men that women find sexiest again and again and again.
You're speaking to the wrong women.
It's absolutely true, 100%. No, honestly, objective polls on the internet show women love him.
Do you think he, I mean, which way what modern man would be the Twitter
I would say that he is
do you think this is you know, a masculine, strong man to look up to?
Yes, absolutely. He's a step parent to a trans child, which I think is an extraordinary extraordinary and incredible. One of his children, I don't know whether it's his stepchild or his biological child, but one of them is trans. He is a very talented, very attractive, very wealthy, very successful, multi-award-winning actor who women absolutely go for. But if we're going to talk about hypocrisy, the one I'd really like to get in on is Kemi, because Kemi has said, word for word, I don't like identity politics. She has said, I don't like it when people are tribal. I don't like it when people talk about being a woman or being black, like it's important. And then today, here she is saying, don't be mean to me, I'm the only black woman in the government.
She's sticking up for herself.
But if identity politics aren't relevant, why is she bringing up identity politics? Either we all can or no one can, but it sounds to me like Kemi's like, identity politics don't exist unless someone's being mean to me and then they're okay.
No, she's being attacked and she's sticking up for herself.
But she's using identity politics, do you disagree?
But
she's saying, I'm the only black woman in the cabinet.
Let's remind the audience of what Kemi Badenoch is trying to do. She is trying to protect women's only spaces from biological men. 95% of trans women plus still have their penis. I've got 2 daughters. I do not want men like Eddie Izzard, who one day says that he's a woman, sticks on a short skirt, a little bit of lippy, and goes into women's toilets and women's changing rooms.
If you care about protecting women and girls...
What Kemi Badenoch is doing is she's trying to protect women-only spaces and women's sports. We know there's a problem, and I think anyone that disagrees with trying to protect these has got an ulterior agenda.
Anybody who cares about equality should have mentioned that the maternal death rate in childbirth has gone up over the last 5 years.
It's a slightly different issue.
It's a completely different issue.
If you are in charge of making life better for women, why is the only thing you talk about trans rights? Why do you not talk about other things like employment, like flexible working, like the cost of childcare, like the fact that women are dying in childbirth, like the fact that black women are 4 times more likely to experience birth injury? Where is that information?
For the record, Kemi Badenoch has done a lot of work on that, particularly in 2020, 2021 as well. But on the issue of Kemi herself...
It's gone up since 2021.
Rebecca,
she hasn't addressed it since 2020.
Are you a fan of Kemi Badenoch? No?
No, absolutely not.
What's your issue with her stance on trans?
I think that it's more about the fact that she doesn't like being told that she couldn't or shouldn't say things than actually caring about trans rights. Because before it became a political hot potato, there's very little record of her saying anything. In fact, previously, she was fairly relaxed on pride issues.
It's argued, Adam, though, that she's only saying things the majority of normal, common sense thinking people
What does that mean? Where do you get that data from?
Why should biological men compete in women's sports?
Okay, that's a very, very big question, generally speaking.
It's very easy. A lot of people argue it's easy.
In contact sports, unless somebody has been on hormone suppressants since childhood, I don't think it's appropriate in full contact sports. In non-contact sports, or if somebody has transitioned in puberty, pre-pubescent, and they don't have the muscle density, I don't have an issue with it.
So you think a biological male who sprints is okay competing against...
Did they go through male puberty?
Yes.
Then no, I don't think that.
Okay, Adam?
I don't know anyone that thinks this is right. And I'm telling you now, if I went to any high street in this country with a microphone and asked everyone that walked past for a few hours whether or not biological men should be in women's toilets, safe spaces and sports, 98% would agree with me,
you just made up a number. You just made up a statistic. There are lots of polls that show that lots of people think that trans people should be allowed to live their life with quiet dignity and privacy.
Look, this is how you spin it and the left spin it. I believe in trans rights. What I don't believe is that biological men should be in women's toilets and women's sports. I can say trans should have rights, but what rights don't trans have that everyone else has?
Okay, well,
I think in this specific debate, people are trying to roll back from the rights to easily gender reassign and use the bar.
It's been argued that Kemi Badenoch is just trying to push forward things with the shake-up of the Equality Act that most people think are sensible. No biological men in women's sports, biological sex considered as a characteristic.
And no mention of anything else that impacts women.
And also, by the way, regardless of anything else, David Tennant, just telling a woman to shut up because she doesn't want them to exist.
So you do believe in identity politics then? You can tell women to shut up or you can't tell women
I don't think it's a good look to tell women to shut up.
So you have to treat women differently from men. Why?
Well, why?
Why do you treat...
It's just being a gracious male. You don't hit women, you don't tell women to shut up. There's certain ways that you treat women.
You shouldn't hit anyone.
And Ben, let's just remember, if a right-wing actor had said this to someone like Diane Abbott, it would be screened as racism.
What, like that nice Tory party donor who's still giving money?
It on the front page.
Okay. Great.